And in Australia, it's quite customary to acknowledge the Indigenous custodians of the land on which we stand. And in this case, it's the Darug people, so that's a good thing to do. So we acknowledge the Darug people. And welcome all of you from all around the globe. We've got representation from almost all of the continents globally. And apologise for the late night last night. Apologies, but I see everyone's bright-eyed, so that's all good for now. Big thanks to Jay Zhang, who's been able to give us this opportunity to bring this meeting to Sydney, and really looking forward to it being a success. Thanks to our many partners. This couldn't have been put on without partners such as New South Wales Government in the form of the Office of Health and Medical Research, Destination New South Wales, the Westmead Institute for Medical Research, Western Sydney Local Health District, Stem Cells Australia, and there are many industry supporters as well, who you see their logos flopping up. Their exhibition stalls are in the next room, so please go ahead and peruse what they have to say. A few housekeeping matters. All of the sessions will be in this room. It should be safe, but you might want to take valuables with you. Food will be in the next room together with the exhibitors' stalls, and the poster session will also be run in there. Poster prizes will be via stickers. They'll be given out at the door. Very simple. Simply put the sticker on the poster which you feel is the best, and there'll be a poster prize at the end for that. Toilets out to the left, I think. And if there's any emergency, we evacuate out those doors, aggregate in the foyer of the hotel. I think that's all for the housekeeping. Oh, this is a special promotion. So we're in the age of everyone having cameras, video cameras, and we do need photos for this exhibition. So all I need to do now is to post that to Twitter with that hashtag, and at the end we'll be giving some prizes for the best photos for the union. So please, I encourage you to take photos and upload them. Just a final word about the NIH Progenitor Cell Translational Consortium Cardiovascular Bioengineering Meeting 2019, which is now open. It's a little bit of a mouthful. We had to truncate our hashtag a little bit because Twitter wouldn't let us. But to me, it really exemplifies all of the diverse elements which we need to use to try and combat cardiovascular disease facing us today. Although it's the NIH, clearly it's an international effort here today, and this meeting will be continuing internationally, I understand. Progenitor Cell Translational Consortium, it has a mechanistic and a regenerative flavour, but science underpins it, and the cardiovascular bioengineering aspects. We have engineers in the audience, engineer speakers, we have clinicians, and it's going to take that kind of multidisciplinary international approach to solve the problems which we need to do. So without further ado, I'd just like to introduce Anne O'Neill, who's the Director of Enterprise and International Partnerships at the Office of Health and Medical Research, one of our partners.
Running late. Just had about 5 minutes.
Sorry?
Oh, you're here already. I should have known.
Thank you, everyone. I was running late and then I teleported, so I'm here. Thank you very much, James. Thank you to the organising committee. Thank you to you all. But I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we gather here today and pay my respects to their elders, past and present and future. Thank you again for asking me to speak. I guess that's our privilege as one of the sponsors, and we're very proud to be one of the sponsors of this symposium. I understand it's the first time this has been run outside the United States, and to all of our visitors near and far, you are very, very welcome to Australia, this wonderful, wonderful country of ours, and of course the most fabulous state of all, which is New South Wales. I make no apology for that. I am from New South Wales Government, and I'm very proud to be a public servant in that environment. Firstly, and this again is my privilege, I get to give you a quick overview of why New South Wales is so spectacular. We have some natural strengths in our large and very diverse population, not just because of the harbour, which is beautiful, and the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House, but the fact we have an altruistic and very educated large population of just under 5 million. We have excellent health and education systems. Our clinical and research workforce are second to none. We are very, very strong in networking and clinical trials, and we have very strong links to the non-medical sciences. And we have significant capability in engineering and science. We take an international leadership in health data linkage and analytics, and we have a strength in population and health services research. We actually have a very mature research ecosystem with our tertiary hospitals, our universities, our medical research institutes, and our clinical trials cohorts and networks. And we are the Australian headquarters for many global multinational clinical trial sponsors. We're a world leader in the startup space of medical device and health technology companies, and home to many internationally recognised medical devices companies, and over half of the medical devices industry is headquartered here, and you'll be familiar with groups such as ResMed, Cochlear, Nanosonics and Zyrtex. The structure of our health system is also a pretty huge asset as a state. We have local health districts that are board governed, that cover over 220 hospitals that exist here, and statewide pillars for policy and programs, which means that we can reach everyone. And from a social perspective, it means we have equity of access to best models of care and to innovation. And that sets us apart from any other jurisdiction in Australia and also around the world. Research is also recognised as being critical. It's not just a cost, it's a value add to the health system. It has a critical role in shifting that paradigm from volume of care, to value-driven care. And our responsibility as a branch within government, that's the Office for Health and Medical Research, is to ensure that government funding flows to where it's most needed to support innovative research for that system. We have to be strategic. We need to make sure that we don't ignore the biomedical end of the research spectrum, because we need to understand and unlock our understanding of genes, for example, to more precisely predict, prevent, diagnose and treat individuals, to develop new drugs or repurpose existing drugs to deliver rather better outcomes for patients. And we need to support research at the other end of the spectrum, at the health services end, and to ensure our systems deliver better value care. We also need to invest in infrastructure, not just in things and buildings, but people, and collaborations such as this, to embed research in the health system so we can implement and scale. We in New South Wales have a specific focus on translation, like true translation, along the whole length of the spectrum. And whether that be to implement existing evidence or to accelerate the development of ideas into market. And this is not just simply about providing grants. You can throw as much money as you want at a problem, but unless you have the capability of the system to actually take up and run with ideas and progress them, then you're not going to get very far. So we've built this shared infrastructure of assets such as our statewide biobank of biospecimens, linkage of data, early phase clinical trials infrastructure, genotype and phenotype databases, and cell and gene therapy biospecimen collections. But unless we have the talent and the people, we're not going to actually translate anything. So our experience with one fund that I am going to talk about was a pretty significant fund for New South Wales Government, was the Medical Devices Fund. We knew that when we opened up this fund for applications, we got loads of ideas, fantastic ideas. They were really unique and fabulous, but there was no understanding from those inventors about the models of care, how they would be disrupted and how change would then be sustainable. Or we had excellent solutions from the coalface, clinicians, surgeons, healthcare workers that really knew and understood very deeply what the problem was to be solved, but no idea how to commercialise. So we partnered with our deep tech incubator here in New South Wales called Cicada Innovations to put in place a medical device commercialisation training program really aimed at the most teachable and the most enthusiastic in our system, our late-stage PhDs and our early to mid-career researchers. And this has been one of our most successful ventures to date, because not only has it given an alternative pathway to talent to actually be able to create and grow and learn about commercialisation, they've actually gone ahead in the space of only 3 years to raise more, actually just under $30 million Australian in public and private funding, and they've set up 13 companies. And we think that's pretty extraordinary in terms of a very much a pilot program as it started. We built it, they came, they learnt, and they've now grown. Typically in Australia, for our international counterparts, we don't learn about commercialisation and translation skills in undergrad and postgrad. And that's why this has been so important as a program. And we've taken this learning into all of our other programs, including the recently launched cardiovascular disease capacity building program, as one of the most significant investments into research in a particular area that New South Wales Government has ever done. And it's been just recently followed by the federal government. We've invested over over the next 10 years we'll invest $150 million in this space, and we have a focus on building, retaining and attracting talent. So on that note, I wish you all the very best for your symposium. What you learn, what you discover, who you meet, and the new collaborations and ideas that will come out of it. Welcome again to New South Wales, and I hope you enjoy your time here. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. On behalf of the National Heart, Lung and Blood Institute, I'd like to, and myself, of course, I'd like to thank the organisers, particularly James, for the superb work that he's done putting this together, but also the other organisers, the coordinating centre, and welcome to the meeting. As pointed out, this is sponsored by the Progenitor Cell Translational Consortium. And so I'd like to bring to your attention a resource that may be useful in the future as you move towards translation and start thinking about clinical trials. And this is the Cardiothoracic Surgical Network, which is a network of sites across the US and Canada, and also in Europe. There's sites in Germany and France that are involved in some of the trials that they're putting on. And this, it's a network of surgeons and cardiologists working together to promote surgical best practices and look at how to do surgery better, basically. If I can have the next slide. And so the way that the CTSN is going to be set up, it's just being renewed now for another 7 years. And so there's going to be essentially 3 routes for trials to come into the CTSN. The first is to the CTSN investigators themselves, and they will use protocol dollars supplied by NHLBI to fund trials. But there also is the expectation that trials will come in from industry and from other investigators working with the CTSN investigators. And I think this is where there's the potential for any advances that are being made by the people in this room to come to clinical trials. Most of you probably don't really have much experience in the infrastructure of clinical trials, and this network provides that infrastructure. They can advise you on protocols, they can work with you on protocols. So as you move forward and start to get towards where you're thinking about translation, I would recommend that you start talking to the CTSN. And if I can have the last slide. And the program director is Marissa Miller. She has been running this program now for 12 years. It's been very successful. They have a lot of very high impact publications. So if you're thinking about taking some of your advances towards clinical trials, then contact Marissa, or you can contact me and I will put you in contact with her. So that's really all I have to say. So thank you, and let the games begin.